Welcome to the Awakened Healer podcast. I'm your host, Mary Beth Vanderlinden. I'm an ordained Christian minister, international intuitive healer, healer trainer, speaker, and retreat facilitator. On the Awakened Healer podcast, myself and a wide variety of fascinating guests will share our gifts and divine experiences. I won't shy away from diving deep and asking big questions during these conversations. In turn, we will open up and share our deepest thoughts on spirituality, angels, intuitive development, crystals, healing of all kinds, and how bridging ancient wisdom with modern science can bring you to a deep and profound healing in every area of your life. Welcome back to another episode of Awakened Healer. This is your host, Mary Beth Vanderlinden. Today's guest is Christine Laria. She has 30 years in the field of both music and energy work. Christine is a university music professor, Carnegie Hall soloist. Nationally, she took part in a televised CBS Christmas Eve special viewed by over 1 million people. She's a published author and is certified in a variety of healing modalities as well as life coaching. Christine's ethereal vocal alchemy offers you a profound connection to your own inner being. She has the unique ability to dissolve blocks and open awareness through sound transmissions. This has resulted in the spontaneous healing of physical, mental, and emotional issues for her clients. Wow, you've accomplished a lot in your life. Welcome to the Awakened Healer podcast, Christine.
Thank you so much, Mary Beth. It is a deep pleasure to be here and with all the listeners in your audience. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're so welcome. I'm excited to talk with you today. So, Christine, can you tell us at what age you became interested in music? Tell us a little of your story of you know, and how you became in the position you are today.
You bet. Well, interestingly, I started singing before the age of 2, and there's a story that my mother has told me when I ended up in the hospital as a toddler, that it was literally the song that I used to sing in the car that was instrumental in my healing. I had a bad flu and almost died, and also a terrible case of abandonment as my parents had to leave the hospital and go be with the rest of the family. Oh. That song was actually the turning point for me as a little bitty person. So music was very, very early for me, and all through my young life and early education, all there. And then I went to college as a music major. I had originally thought I would be a theater major, and something in my heart knew that music was for me. And indeed it was and has been. And that led to, the pursuit of a graduate degree, and eventually working as a conductor, as a professional singer, as a teacher. Moved into university music teaching. Great passion, so much joy there. And at some point, my students began to tell me that they realized their voice lessons were, yes, they were voice lessons, but they were really life lessons. And what I was noticing was that people could only learn to sing insofar as they could overcome their own blocks inside of themselves, whether that was their sense of their own inner critic, or not being worthy, or it being beautiful enough. And so I found that with music, I was constantly addressing the whole person, but also the consciousness of the person. So that was a beautiful, beautiful exploration. And then about the same time, I was at an event where I saw a teacher and mentor of mine doing toning, which is that vibrational use of singing. Yeah, to shift energy, to heal, to open up consciousness and awakening. And the minute I saw and understood that for the first time and experienced it, I knew with a deep certainty in myself that I knew that. I knew that modality. I knew it as an ancient part of the wisdom that we all are, and our many experiences as beings. And I intuitively understood it and literally just downloaded the ability, which we all have the capability to do. Yes. It's not all book learning anymore, as we know. We see and then we embody. And that was my first experience with sound alchemy, which then also led me to work with the crystal singing bowls. And that just kept going deeper and deeper until I got to be really interested in what can this actually do? I don't want to just say or experience what I think it does. I want people to tell me what it does. And that actually led to a project that I did called On Target Transformational Toning, where people submitted their requests for assistance and healing, every physical issues, everything from headaches to back pain to acid reflux, to emotional issues like anxiety or depression, to situational issues like self-sabotage or relationship issues or even finances. And I would make them a track according to what their request was, and I would send it to them, and they would listen for 2 weeks and report the results.
Wow.
And it blew me away. It absolutely blew me away. That's kind of where I really saw that all the things that I had brought in from the past of being a classical singer and a professor and understanding music, and also the energy modalities that I'd worked with, were really coming together in sound.
So what kind of results have you seen? Like once you sent them the tape and they had the 2 weeks to listen to it, what kind of results were they getting from the frequency sent out over the tapes?
You bet. Well, they were amazing and varied and fantastic. One of the things that I noticed was that everybody had a positive result. Everybody had some improvement. Lots of people had things completely resolve. One woman who I sent a track on abundance, the very next day, somebody sent her a check randomly as a gift in the mail after she began listening. Another woman who had been hospitalized for 2 weeks with severe back pain, and they thought she had a spinal infection. They ran all the tests. They never did discover the root cause of her pain, but they discharged her with an effort to manage the pain, but it continued and persisted for several weeks. So she tried this, and within 4 days, the back pain was completely gone.
Oh, wonderful. That's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah. One other woman actually had surgery for a blocked artery, and her healthcare provider had a mechanism to measure the arterial health, the flow, the elasticity, and the constrictive value. And so she listened for 2 weeks, and then they remeasured those tests, and each area had improved 33 to 50%.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, Christine, let me ask you something else. In what way have you felt spirit led to where you are now? Or was there an awakening at some point for you? Any experience in your life that shifted?
Yeah, there were a couple of those. That's such a beautiful question. And I really offer this answer as an encouragement to everyone listening, because what I found, and I know this isn't a new idea, was that these deep challenges were leading me to what I would call my superpower, or the thing that actually wants to be enlivened and expressed in the most brilliant and beautiful way. And I feel this is part of each of our journeys. One of those was a really, traumatic experience of my teenage son hanging himself, and I found him and he was physically dead. He suffered a massive brain injury from that, and he wasn't meant to wake up from. They did revive his heart with the CPR. They weren't expecting him to ever come out of the coma, and that if he did ever come out of the coma, well, first they didn't expect him to live. His brain score was basically, well, it was a Glasgow coma score of 3. That means brain dead. And then, and he actually came out of the coma, and then he went on to have. He's here, and he has a really fairly normal life. He has some, lingering disabilities, but he has a really beautiful life. What I found for me after that trauma was that within a couple of years, I just had a ton of physical pain. And that led me on to part of my own healing and awakening journey. And then the way that fits in with sound, that led me to explore everything. We know how it is. We do all the traditional methods until we get no relief, and then we're willing to try something new.
Yeah, right.
Right? Yeah. And that was part of it for me.
Yeah.
And then another part was I'd been a singer all of my life, and professionally, and teaching and the whole thing. But it was also the place where I visited the most severe criticism on myself. I was hard on myself. It was cruel, really. I mean, and it was never good enough. And so, and of course I had a pretty successful career at it, but internally it was never peaceful. And I was in Bali, and I was sitting with a really beautiful shaman, and he says, "So you sing a lot?" I said, "Yeah, every day." And he said, "Oh, does that bring you so much joy?" And I said, "Actually, no. It's probably one of the sources of the greatest conflict in my life." He looks at me, he goes, So he started in with his praying and chanting and healing work, and it freed my heart. It freed something for me that led me to have the freedom in my voice and the joy and love of expression that I had always wanted.
Oh.
Yeah. And after that happened, it was different from that day forward. And at that moment, I knew I no longer wanted to be a classical singer, that the only thing I wanted to do with that gift was to use it for healing and awakening and expanding of consciousness. And so it totally transformed the path I was on. It was within a fairly short amount of time that I resigned from the university and gave myself to this work that I do now full time. So yeah, and it was the challenges that really brought me to the healing. And actually what I discovered was the depth of that challenge around my own inner critic allowed it to also somehow, the inverse of that was the beauty and the power of it. So that's the encouragement that I offer to people. If there's that piece that you always bump up against, it's,
Right, right.
yeah, it's actually there for
A
you.
lot of times that's where people give up. They just stop
Mm-hmm.
and they give up. And here, just beyond that, is their true path,
Yes.
their true breakthrough. And so
Yeah.
it sounds like you pushed through that bump up
Mm.
distance and ended up where you were always meant to be.
It feels really, I feel grateful. So beautiful, it's such a beautiful part of the journey. And I love that you mentioned that people will often give up, and maybe this can be the encouragement. If we just know there's another option in there, that maybe the thing isn't against us, but is for us, then we can be with it in a new way and be open to the ways that it leads us to
Exactly.
that new place. Yeah.
Right. So, boy, my heart, I was really feeling for you as you talked about your son.
Mm.
Um, First, I want to say how deeply sorry I am about your son because, I'm so thankful that, you were able to get to him in time and that
Mm-hmm.
his life has turned around. I actually lost my son,
Oh.
yeah, last October. And so his
Oh.
anniversary is coming up and it's just been getting harder and harder and
Oh,
harder.
wow.
It just seems like yesterday that I
Yeah.
got that phone call.
Yeah.
And so I'm happy, that your son has moved on from that and that he has a good life now. If only more people would realize it, again, it's just something they're bumping up against right
Yeah.
then.
Yeah.
And things change,
Yeah,
you
they
know.
do. They do. And I recognize that in that deep darkness that sometimes we're in, when we're so in it, we're looking out from it. So that's really all we see. And
Right?
there is always another place that's the awareness, that's the consciousness and the being that we are, that can actually see that's what we're looking at. And until we know that that's an option, it's actually not an option. So I would offer that to anybody listening who might be discouraged or feeling that they are bumping up against that thing. Notice the part of you that notices that. Tune into that. That is where your peace is.
Yeah, that's so true. Just, yeah, or reach out to somebody,
Mm-hmm.
anybody, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and let people know how you're really feeling and what you need,
Yes.
even if it's just somebody to just sit with you and listen,
Yes.
actually truly listen, because that's something that is so lacking nowadays. Nobody even takes time to take a breath to get, to the point where someone else can even get out what they're trying to say
Mm-hmm.
and everything. So that's so
Mm-hmm.
important. And just like sound can heal you,
Mm-hmm.
listening can heal.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. So tell me, what do you think is the single greatest gift that we can offer ourselves?
Oh, wow. I think compassion. I can't think of a greater gift that we can offer ourselves than a loving space to land. And that may relate to the things I was talking about, or even to the things that my son was going through. If we can be loving, if we can be soft and gentle with ourselves, the way that we would want to encourage someone else who's having a hard time, if we can offer that to ourselves and afford that place of listening, of presence, we can get through almost anything.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Very good. Well, Christine, I myself love the sound of
Mm.
singing bowls, and we would just love if you could actually share a short sound session with us so that we can get a taste of what you do. A lot of the listeners may have never
Mhm.
experienced singing bowls. They're beautiful. Would that be an
Mhm.
option for you to do a process for us right now?
Oh, absolutely. As I was looking toward our time together, I allow the bowls to speak to me. Who's up today? Who is it that wants to play? And the nature of our conversation shows this now more clearly. I chose a set today that's really soft and nurturing, that is provides a lot of calm and soothing for the mind, but also synchronization with heart and mind, so that those two things aren't maybe so much at odds. There's emotional support, there's grounding, and there's deep connection with our I am presence. So, and the expanded states of consciousness. And to that end, I have these beautiful crystal tones alchemy singing bowls, which are made from really pure crystal quartz. And then at 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit, they infuse other precious metals and gems and gemstones. We have mother of platinum with pink ocean gold. And we also have tanzanite with Saint Germain sky,
Oh, wow.
pink angel aura gold, and then a beautiful triple alchemy that has palladium, turquoise, and azeztulite, as well as a very tiny little bowl that's etched with the Egyptian Hathors, and it is titanium and silver. And two of these bowls, Mary Beth, are what we call morphs. And the morphs are bowls that have broken
Oh,
and been put back together.
that's interesting.
It is. And so they look, in a sense, quote, flawed, but to me, I was so drawn the first time I met a morph bowl. I was
Oh,
so drawn to its energy. And it used to be that Crystal Tones sold those at a discount because they look flawed. They actually now sell them at a premium because they have recognized that the morph bowls have a superior sound, as well as I would call it the consciousness that connects to what we are, which is there are those times that come in and we feel broken, but we are different after them, but we are still complete and we are whole. And many times we are also even deeper and more amazing in the being that we are. So I would love to offer you that today, and invite you, you and all of the listeners, to allow it to, if there's anything in the mind that needs soothing. The bowls are amazing. And I'm going to just start playing a little bit while I speak, and then I'll just play. They're amazing for ushering us into the theta brainwave state, which is that deep meditative relaxation. Our bodies are crystalline in structure, just as the bowls are. They have the ability to entrain brainwaves just through the vibration. And they're here to meet us as a conscious presence.
Thank you. That was beautiful. My energy just feels so at peace and so expanded.
Mm.
We'd love comments from the listeners. What was your experience? Connect with us through the show notes link. Give us your comments, and I'd like to know what you experienced during that process. Thank you for doing that for us. So my understanding, like I have a CD of singing bowls, and so I
Mhm.
looked up a little bit about them in the past and everything. Each bowl has a different tone, like say it's a D, right?
Yes.
And doesn't that D coordinate or correlate, whatever the right word is, with a certain chakra?
It does, yeah. Starting with
How
the
does that
root at
work?
C, and then D for the sacral, E for the solar plexus, on up to B for the crown. And then the crystal tone singing bowls also use the sharps. So we have C sharp, D sharp, F sharp, and those correlate even more to our etheric body associated with that part of the physical body, as well as the endocrine system. So it's a little bit of a more complex connection when you have the
Right.
sharp notes. Yeah, it's a really beautiful thing. So like the bowls I played for you today had an F sharp, which is for our expanded being heart, and a C sharp, which is root, A sharp for the pineal and third eye, and also a D sharp for the sacral. So um, yeah, it's amazing.
So if somebody was actually experiencing a specific symptom, say somebody had just gone through heart surgery,
Hmm.
and you just really wanted to give them a gift of healing, they could come to you or contact you and say, like, I have a friend or a family member that just went through heart surgery. I'd love to give them a gift. And you would be able to tell them this bowl or this tone would be the
Absolutely.
most healing for those circumstances.
Absolutely. And there are so many documented cases of the bowls doing exactly that, healing specific areas of the body, both because of the, in this case, the alchemies that are in them, the healing properties of the crystals and the metals and the stones, as well as the pitch. It's a beautiful combination, quite powerful.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I can tell you it's been probably 5 minutes since you stopped, and I can still feel my energy. I don't know how to explain it other than it's going like, ooh,
Hmm.
ooh, ooh. And just kind of, I just feel like this circle almost inside of
Yeah.
me, like expanding and going in and expanding.
Hmm.
I don't know what the word for that would be, that motion,
Hmm.
almost like polarization happening within your being.
Yeah. And you hit on something that's really profound, which is that the sound continues, the vibrational effects of it long after we've actually finished hearing it. I love that you were pointing to that because it's really true. It's actually the silence afterward to me is as important of a part of the transmission as the sound itself. It's kind of like Shavasana at the end of yoga, that resting period, and things just keep happening and keep happening. And it does, like I said, entrain our brain waves to deeper states. And it literally is our bodies are crystalline in structure, that which is a patterned and layered structure, particularly in our bones. So this sound touches that in us and it enlivens it in our physical form. And it does enliven that vibration because, as we know, our natural state is to heal ourselves when the body knows how to heal itself, and the
Right.
vibrations of the bowls bring us back to that neutral state where the body can do what it wants to do, whether that's emotionally or physically or however, mentally. So those effects continue. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I'm feeling it. Yeah.
Wonderful.
I'm sure everyone else that listens is feeling it too. Christine, I just really, really appreciate you joining us today. I love the information that you gave. A lot of people may have never even heard of the singing bowls, so this may have been a
Mm,
totally new experience for them. You've
mm.
given us a lot of great information. Is there anything else you'd like to add that would really wrap this up and make people aware of how important sound can be in the process of healing?
Absolutely. But wow, that's a great question. And what really came right to my mind is they call these singing bowls because they are patterned and made after the human voice. They literally make the sound of vocal formants, which we would call vowels. So I would let everybody know that your own voice is one of the most powerful healing instruments available to you, whether that's through chanting or om or simply allowing sounds to come through. Every single person's voice is a healer for their body and themselves. So know that this thing that we're talking about lies first within you, and then also is reflected around you in the sound of these bowls and somebody else's voice. So I love that.
Yeah, very good. As you were talking, something else came to me. Like me, myself, if I got a bowl, I would be, okay, what do I do with this now?
Oh, right. Yeah.
And so do you offer lessons, or how could a person, like if they had a bowl shipped to them, or even if they came to the shop and they bought it there, once they get it, what's next? Are there lessons in working with the singing bowls?
Sure. Right. If I have any in-person contact with you, I'm going to share all of that with you as you make your purchase. And if you're a person who just orders online and the bowl comes to you, I have an informational video on my YouTube channel that explains about the nature of the bowls, how to play them, how they work, how to strike them, how to mallet them. We go around the edge. You can also do that like a cello. Has all of that information in there so that you can feel comfortable and capable to take this beautiful conscious instrument and partner with it for your own healing.
Wonderful. So give us, what is your YouTube channel?
It's Christine Laria. If you look that up on YouTube, you will find me.
And then your website to reach out to you, whether they want to email you or see, what else you have to offer. What is your website?
Absolutely. Thank you. It's christinelaria.com. And the bowl site is, I think, as I mentioned, Laria Crystal Sound. On that website of Christine Laria, you'll find all kinds of things, sound alchemy albums, or the possibility to purchase a custom track like I talked about before. And I also do a lot of consciousness facilitation and coaching work. So it's all there.
So very good. Thank you
so
so much for your time and everything you shared with us. And do you have a favorite quote you'd like to leave us with?
Everything you seek is within you. So
very
be encouraged. Yeah, thanks so much.
Well, thank you so much. Be blessed. And also the listeners, abundant blessings to you. Thank you for sharing this time with us. Bye-bye. Thank you for joining me on the Awakened Healer podcast. Did you enjoy the show? If yes, please subscribe and give me 5 on a review, that is, on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. Leave a review or your comments and let me know what you loved or would love to learn about on future shows. We all need encouragement, including me. Find out more information on my website at spiritledhealinginstitute.com. Be blessed, and remember, if you're good with you and good with God, you're good.